Namaste, group hug. Come, join us, sit on our chair. Citywealth is so delighted to be doing these live TV sessions, and we're doing them for charity. We have a CAF account, and we are going to give £100 for each live TV coverage to either Refuge or the London Air Ambulance. So please, if you want to leave a comment on any of our social media, do that, and we would love to hear your thoughts about who we should donate to. I wanted to promote a future leader in this first TV coverage. And so the idea of the whole thing, or the vibe, is to hashtag stay sane or hashtag stay positive. So we thank everyone who is helping, all their neighbours, the NHS, and we hope to be part of the positivity that goes forward. So I'd like to introduce Matt Gilligan from the Louvre Group, who's joining us from Guernsey. And we're going to do a few different segments, and they're based really on many challenges that are going around on the Instagram. So the first one you might have seen or you might not have seen is Until Tomorrow. Matt didn't know this one, so we had to tell him about it, but it's putting embarrassing pictures of yourself onto the internet for 24 hours, and then the next day you're allowed to take it down. So here we go. Here's me as a kid. See technical difficulties, whether it will happen or not. Did it go on? Did it show? Yeah. And then here's also me doing the Getty Museum Challenge, and I was being a Royal Academy 2015 Alan Jones exhibit, which is a chair, which, as you can see, is an abject failure and a total embarrassment. So I look forward to taking that down. And also, Sanlam sent through a challenge, which is for 50 to 75-year-olds to do some exercise. So I thought I would help promote their channel for them by doing what everyone is doing, which is a chair cycle. So bear with me. Oh. I'm part of the challenge. So Matt, you sent us an amazing picture of you sitting on your dad's lap, which I think is going to come up on the screen now. Is it been on? Yeah. So tell us all about that.
This was just a bit of a funny picture that I decided to do because there was an old-fashioned picture of me and my dad when I was sat on his lap, and my son looks a bit like me, and we thought it'd be really funny to try and replicate it because it was a Christmas picture, and I just thought I'll just sit on his lap. 30 years later, we swapped tashes. I had my tash, but I had a pretty garish Christmas jumper on as well, and yeah, pretty funny one.
Oh, it looks hilarious. Sometimes I do that with my dog. There's a couple of pictures and I'm pretty sure that's about the same weight, I imagine. Anyway, it's a gorgeous pic. So thank you for sharing that with us. So the next challenge is to stay sane in this COVID environment. And that's the tricky one, isn't it? I mean, there's been lots of reports of mental health problems. So I've been doing the Getty Museum Art Challenge, which you've just seen a little bit of my efforts. But there's also another one I did, which is Josephine Baker, who was a Folie Bergère Parisian cabaret dancer. So I dressed up in a banana costume, which I think has been on the screen. Yep, okay, great. So you see, I'm fully outing myself as contributing to part of the fun and staying sane and being positive. I've also been watching Gogglebox, which I would never do normally, but I'm finding utterly hilarious about what people think on their sofas. Doing Sainsbury's online shopping for my mum. So I'm just buying her cakes and basically biscuits. That's been quite interesting. A bit of meditation with Deepak Chopra. And also been dancing in my lounge with a solo dancing with the Arts Club Spotify playlist. So Matt, what have you been doing?
Lots of trying to be outside of the of home, outside of the office as best as possible within the permitted 2 hours. I've been doing a lot of...
You mean your home office?
My home office, yeah, sorry. I've been doing a lot of running. We're quite fortunate here that the weather in Guernsey has been, it's pretty overcast today, but it's been lovely. Cool. So it's good to go for sort of cliff runs and swims with the kids, which has been really good fun. Also, spending more time with the kids is good fun as well. So I've been doing a lot of painting with them in breaks, and watching a lot of Netflix. And, you know, if it wasn't for the, you know, Joe Exotic and the Tiger King, I don't know where I'd be right now.
Oh my God, that Tiger King, it is so gross, isn't it? OMG. I saw it the other night on a Gogglebox. I never heard of it. And then they showed that guy who had no teeth, like one tooth. But then someone posted on the Instagram that the dentists are not open in London. So actually people are actually with pliers pulling their teeth out.
Oh, wow. I will not partake in that challenge, no.
No, but then we are not desperate enough yet, but we might become desperate enough, who knows. Anyway, so the next one is WFH, work from home. So here's my pick with the Citywealth dog, who's chosen to recline on our golden velvet couch with no thought of his dirty paws and how I'm going to ever clean that couch. So well done him. So how about you, Matt? Maybe an opportunity to tell us about what you do at the Louvre Group so that people understand what your job is, your career, like what you do day to day.
Yeah, sure. So I'm an associate director at Louvre Group. We're a trust company in Guernsey. So we've been working from home now for, I think this is our 4th week. I'm kind of losing count, really. So my role predominantly is sort of 50-50 between business development and also managing existing clients. So obviously the business development side of things is quite quiet right now. I travel too much. But
for all of us,
but I've been doing a lot of calls like this, which is really good fun. It's good to reconnect with people. Working from home has been a bit of a challenge. As I mentioned before, I've got a twin boy girl who are going to be 4 in August.
Did you get the picture of Matt? Oh, we've had a look at your kids. They look gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah. So they're going a wee bit stir crazy, to be perfectly honest. But they're out at the moment on their bikes with their mum, so I've got a wee bit of freedom right now, which is good.
Well done your partner. That's very good.
Exactly. But no, it's not been too bad. Work have been really, really supportive, and they've been really good with everyone, and they always check in with everyone, which is really helpful because you miss that interaction. You know, you work with people for years and years and suddenly go from not being able to interact with them. It's quite strange. It's good to sort of catch up and FaceTime and Zoom call them. So it's not.
Yeah, we've all been converted to Zoom, haven't we? And all crazy Zoomies. But have you had a hat? Because you apparently have to have a hat or a drink, don't you? So, like, what's your Zoomy look?
Yeah, I've had bandanas. That was my thing. I had some stored, and I had one on. I just been wearing them because I can't be bothered to. This is probably the first time today in this week that I've not worn gym gear or a hat or a bandana. And I have on a couple of occasions been on a call and gone, need to quickly check out and get changed.
That's the problem, isn't it? You just forget, don't you, what you look like. You're like, oh Jesus, I look awful. Oh, that's so fun. Well, you look great right now. You look a proper lumbersexual, so well done. Very good. So we're doing the 4th one, going a bit mad and crazy, but we're getting in touch with our spiritual side. So we did a card reading. Matt has picked these cards from our sacred geometry, and hopefully a picture has gone up there now. So he's picked cards like Golden Spiral, Labyrinth, Mountain Messengers, and Sacred Unions. So I'm just going to very quickly. Did you want to share your question or keep it secret?
I'll keep it secret.
Keep it secret. Good. All right. So that question was about work and life relationships. So it says the answers from the cards are: look closely at your relationships and make sure they are what you truly want in life. Think with your heart, not your head. Be yourself, not what society tells you to be. Give thanks for what you have. Don't struggle and realize the universe has got a plan for us all. Relax, enjoy the time off, and spend time with animals and nature, which you can do in Guernsey, and not too much with your head and logic. That's what the cards say. So there you go. That's your reading. So then we move on to random acts of kindness. So I think it's been fantastic as time has gone on, hasn't it, to see how neighbours and friends have reacted. And I've been the recipient of toilet roll and food parcels and soup. And I've been cooking for my neighbours, and I've actually learnt to cook. I'd forgotten, so well done me. And because of the Citywealth events, I had a big wine stash. So I've been able to give some wine to my neighbours. So they've been very grateful for that. So just having a look at you and what your, I do the Kiva, obviously, which is, I like to put money onto Kiva from the Citywealth CAF account. So we loan to small businesses in the emerging markets. So just having a look at what your random acts of kindness are, or how it's going in Guernsey, the Louvre Group CSR or community projects, and what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think both Louvre and I have been quite busy. Personally, I've done the 5K challenges for the NHS, which is good fun, and it's always good to spread that around.
High five! We can do a virtual high five.
High five!
Yay!
There we go. Yeah, and it's just about being with the community a bit more. So speaking with my neighbours a lot more. I've got an elderly couple a couple of doors down who have just had their first granddaughter. Unfortunately, they've not been able to see them because of everything that's going around. But we've sort of built a relationship with them, and they interact with my kids, so it's quite good fun for them to sort of chat like that. Equally, if I go shopping, I always ask family or friends if they need anything. I've got a few friends that are working for nurses over here as well, so always offering to help out where I can. And with regards to Louvre, we're still looking at opportunities for what we can assist with locally. We've got a lot of projects that we do continuing and going through this summer, which we're trying to see if we can sort of maybe slightly push back, because obviously we don't know when we can come back into the real world, so to speak. But always looking for challenges, always looking for a way to raise money. Running for stuff is always good for me, or sea swimming. I'll happily, if someone wants to see me dive into freezing cold water for some to raise money for charity, I'll happily do that.
Okay, we'll give you that challenge.
Yeah.
Plunge into an icy pool and we'll all watch.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's nice, and I know Guernsey's a great community, isn't it? So it's good to see that you guys are like all pulling together to help each other. That's great. So I'll move on to the advice segment, and I don't know if people know this, but I've worked in the media all my life, and I was at Mews International for 10 years. I've been at many trade media, so I'm always slightly interested about what the media publish and what they choose to run with. And I was really upset with the FT, because I think it's a financial newspaper and it should focus on financial reporting, not on reporting of tabloids. And it sent one day a headline which was "Death is spreading around the country," and I was so annoyed that I immediately cancelled my FT. And so I think what I'm concerned about as someone from the media is, like, the headlines, people just take them at face value, and actually you need to say, look, people are trying to sell things, they are commercial businesses, and actually just think about what you're being told, and say, what sources are they using? What research are they using? Where are these statistics real? Many hospitals say actually they don't really know how to ascertain if the death was from COVID or not. And I don't want to undermine the help from NHS, but I'm just wondering, that's my thoughts, which they could be real or not real. But I just wondered if you have any advice to help people at a difficult time.
I think the best thing to do is take everything with a pinch of salt. I mean, there's a lot of the media are very good at drumming up excitement, whether that's a positivity spin or a negative one. I think if you get bogged down too much with the numbers and what's going on around the world, then you will literally sit in a bubble and not want to do anything, not be able to process, which is only going to lead to worse things for your mental health. I think the only thing you can do is try and stay healthy and try and, as I said, take everything with a pinch of salt and just try and find the truth and the real facts out there, because there's a lot of so-called experts that are saying this, that, and the other. And you have to remember that some of these experts will be saying maybe something controversial purely to get some airtime, just to promote themselves as well.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Tricky one, isn't it? But I hope, I think I'm getting a lot of feedback from people now, which is, like, actually they are just turning the news off and they're not looking at social media all day long. Or I think there was the crazy 5G conspiracy, wasn't there? And like a couple of people sent that to me, and I was just like, please don't forward that to people, it's ridiculous. And then thank God that there was a lot of stuff that came out after that to say that this is actually not true. You are not going to get coronavirus from 5G. Well, anyway, there we go. So moving on to good stuff, achievements. So I've won many awards for being a businesswoman and for our digital leaders list, which was a big project. I go to the Courtauld for summer school each year, so I can spend some time with people who are not in the financial world. So I was just thinking about Louvre Trust Group and like, what do they do to support you? What do you do at work? Any academic achievements? And anything you can tell us about what you do as well as working, I guess.
Yeah, so Louvre are very good at promoting staff to take many different exams, whether that be STEP or ICSA or Institute of Directors, just to continue to develop themselves and further themselves, which is really important. Equally, they've put me forward before for, I think you mentioned at the top of the interview that for the Citywealth Future Leader Awards, which is really humbling and very nice.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, very good.
And they continue to do that with some of our younger staff as well that are coming through the ranks, which is really, really important. I think it's really good to see that from the top that they're really pushing the next generation as best as they can and trying to give them all the opportunities that they want. Not everyone is going to want to do an exam every year, but to have the opportunity to do that is really important.
And I do think Guernsey is very good at that generally, on a whole, actually. I mean, travelling to all the different jurisdictions. And I applaud the Louvre Group for doing that, Louvre Trust Group. But also, we were really impressed with Moran. You know, when we look at all the future leaders' submissions, I mean, how well they coach and look after their people. And clearly, the Louvre Group do that as well. It's really impressive and heartwarming, I think. It's fantastic. So good for Guernsey. Well done. So passions. So me, I love spending my time traveling around the world, going to art museums. And this last summer, obviously before lockdown, I went to Baltimore, which is apparently a bit of an edgy place to visit. Worried a few people, but it was lovely. And I went to an art museum there, and I saw the Coen sisters, and there should be an image that pops up on the screen there. And the Coen sisters, so this is kind of like girls' power, women's power, power women. Clarabelle and Etta, they collected 3,000 works of art who ended up being Matisse, Picasso, Van Gogh, Gauguin in around 1910, so the turn of the century. And that huge collection of 3,000 works of art now sits in the Baltimore Art Museum. So I was like, that was amazing. So tell us about your passions. I saw that hockey might be one of them. There might be others.
Yeah, I call myself a keen sportsman, but I very much had a dad bod since I was born. So I sort of get through it as best as I can. I play a lot of football, a lot of hockey. Obviously not at the moment. I don't.
But you were doing what? You were doing hockey for Guernsey, were you? Is that right?
Yes, I used to. When I was a wee bit younger, I used to play for Guernsey, and then I broke my ankle actually playing football. So that put me back by a couple of years. But my men's team just won the local league just before lockdown came through. If we hadn't won that game, we would have the league would have been null and void. So that was the first time anyone had won outside of the top two teams in 10 years. So it's quite an achievement for us. So we're really happy with that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But apart from that, you know, just a lot of time with the family, going around.
Yeah, it's when you've got children commitments, it's like all consuming, isn't it? Yeah.
Pretty much.
We're very careful with the future leaders, actually, when we talk to people, because one thing we worked out is if people have a lot of young children, it's actually quite hard to have other commitments, isn't it? Because you've got to actually devote your life to their commitments, which is a whole thing, isn't it? So now locations. So I'm based in London, which I think most of the audience will have heard about, in Marylebone. And at the moment it's emptied out. So I'm probably one of the only people left here. So well done me. But tell us about Guernsey, because many of our viewers or people who will look at this will not have visited Guernsey. They won't know about Victor Hugo. They won't know how beautiful it is. They won't know about, you know, what lovely life you have outside of work. So give us a chat on Guernsey.
So Guernsey is a small island off the coast of France. Not many of us speak French. I don't speak any French, so don't ask me.
I do. Look, ooh la la. There you go.
That's one. So the population is just over 65,000. So quite small, but a lot is done in the island. You know, we've got a lot of tourism, and you know, financial centre is a massive financial centre. And apart from that, some of the boring stuff. It's got some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, and
so
I would say that.
What beaches do you go to? Give us some names. Where do you go?
So one of the ones I go to is Mullenwet. So that is a quite secluded beach that you have to sort of trek down, which is not great with kids because they will not climb. They'll happily go down, they won't climb up. But once you're there, it's a real beautiful sort of quiet area. It's in the sort of around St. Martin's area, which is, people that know it, is a sort of the higher parishes, if you will. And it's down the sort of the south coast. Another one is, there's two really good ones on the west coast called Vazon and Cobo. Vazon is a massive long beach, which is, I spent most of my childhood there because my parents' house is just up the road. And Cobo is a really famous one because it's truly stunning, got some great sunsets, and there's quite a few bars and restaurants there that are perfect to go to see an amazing sunset and have one or two drinks to see it away. So hopefully I'll be able to go there soon if this lockdown ever comes out.
It ends, yeah. And so tell us about the hotels, and like there's the old government house, isn't there? What else is there, like restaurant wise and things like that, just to sort of promo Guernsey?
Restaurant wise, so we've got some great restaurants. We've got a steak restaurant called Red, which I think you might have been to before. Hook, you and I have been to before, which is a really nice steak and sushi restaurant. You've got the Nautique, which is another great fish restaurant. Octopus.
I think we went to Nautique. Actually, I feel like in my head, the one where they open the window and we look outside right by the window.
Yes, yeah, they do that. Yeah. Most of the sort of good ones in St. Peter Port, the really high standard of food considering our sort of island and size of our island.
And it's good fish, isn't it? Fish is.
I particularly like it.
Excellent. So I think we're gonna. So, how easy is it to get to Guernsey? So people know how long are the flights, like to Europe, to America, to UK?
So from London Gatwick, there's 2 or 3 flights a day, which are 30 minutes, door to door, pretty much, which is pretty good. That's on a jet, and then on the props, it's about 40 minutes. So it's not too bad. And then you can fly from Southampton, Manchester, Bristol. I'm gonna forget the links here. And obviously from Jersey and some connections from France as well. So it's pretty easy to get to, and obviously by boat, it's quite good. We've got a lot of tourists in the summer that come over by boat from the UK and France, which is good fun, and pretty easy. It makes my job really easy, obviously, when I come over to London to meet. So
you tend to hop into UK and then you fly somewhere else. So like, because I know a lot of people in Guernsey travel the world a lot. So what destinations do you go to?
Yeah, so I normally go. I go to Dubai quite a bit. So I normally fly into Gatwick and pretty much do a same day flight, flying in the morning and then fly out mid-afternoon to Dubai. So that's a good link. And then the other connection around Europe is pretty easy to get to. Heathrow and Gatwick can pretty much manage the same links. Heathrow is slightly better maybe for the US and the Americas, but all easily accessible to get to.
So just kind of illustrating that you can live in a gorgeous island, but you can still hop and be in all these big financial centres. So that's great. So I think finishing off, we just want to have a few post-COVID predictions. So I have one, which I'm sure will get shot down. But I think a little bit from conversations with people, they've said they're almost going to go like utterly mad, like it's New Year's Eve, like go out to a club and be dancing all night long, maybe for like 72 hours. Not so easy if you have children. But then there'll be almost like a dry January where people will be like, all right, okay, we're out of it, but actually we got some perspective from the lockdown. And like people in dry January are like, you know what, actually I'm just going to have no alcohol for a while and just dumb down a bit and like slowly come back in. And I think there'll be a bit more of a slow movement where people are like, actually I've got a bit of perspective now. And do I need to be on a plane all the time? And do I need to be at events all the time? And actually perhaps business might, maybe just for 1 or 2 years, but it would just maybe just be slightly slower or more realistic about work-life balance, perhaps for a couple of years, where people go, you know what, I actually do want to spend a bit of time at home with the kids, a bit more. Aha, we've got some babies.
Ah!
Hello.
Speaking of spending more time with the kids.
Yeah. Perfect.
Everyone's back from their cycle.
Oh, did you have a good time?
Say hi, Sydney.
Hello, gorgeous person. So yes, so just wondering what your thoughts are with the COVID.
I think you're right, and I think in the sense that there's going to be a case of people wanting to go out and party and go a bit nuts. But I think restrictions will still be in play. I don't think many bars will be open because I think there'll still be a sense of social distancing that will need to come into play. We've got another one coming.
Apparently there's some research, isn't it? So it could be 2 years after this that we're all...
I mean, I think it normally takes... And here's the other one to complement the two.
Hello.
Wave elves. Say hi.
You look gorgeous. Hello, you look gorgeous. It's so beautiful.
So yeah, I think it takes about 18 months to make a vaccine generally for most flus that come around. So I think there will be a bit of a release. I think restaurants might open, but there might still be some distancing. It's not great for big parties and things like that.
So a real sort of slow down, you think, or sort of a very cautious back sort of return to things.
Yeah, and I think there is a good possibility that there could be, come the winter season, there could be another smaller outbreak of COVID-19 because it's innately going to happen with the flu season kicks in fully, and we just all need to be prepared for that. I mean, we've lived through it, so we know what to expect, and then it will be a combination of businesses to react again, and us to sort of deal with it if we need to, and hopefully there'll be some more shows on Netflix that we can watch then, because I do worry that we're going to run out of shows. I have to say.
Well, we're creating new content here.
Exactly, yeah.
So do the kids want to come and tell us what their names are? Because we didn't, or they just...
Yeah, sure. Else, do you want to come say hello?
Tell us,
do you want to say hello?
Your name and...
You can come say hello. No, they've gone shy, so it's Sydney and Elsie. Sydney, Elsie, yeah. They're going to be 4 in August.
Both twins, I forgot.
Twins, twin boy, girl, yeah.
Well done for that, because that's quite hard work, isn't it? Actually, you and your partner are doing a great job. So I want to say thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you when things are back to normal. And thank you for joining us and being a really good sport, because the content is a bit... We decided to go a bit more entertainment than just doing a webinar or just doing work stuff, because I think people are a little bit out of work and they're a bit into sort of actually, I don't know, having to deal with a lot of difficult situations. So to just be a bit more, stay positive, stay sane. And we really appreciate you joining us today. So I think for that we can sign off and say thank you so much. And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Say bye.
Bye. You look gorgeous.
You blow a kiss.
Bye.
Bye.
You need to know. Bye.